This program is brought to you by the Media Liberty Alliance Foundation in cooperation with OBBM Network TV, bringing citizen-led, creative local media to the forefront of local communities to foster a greater understanding of constitutional liberty and appreciation of what makes us truly free, starting with you and me.
The Zach Rateliff Show is brought to you by Mortgage Financial in Texarkana, Exceed Health Clinic on Mall Drive in Texarkana, Elmwood Custom Goods, and Church on the Rock, Texarkana. That's churchontherock.org.
God's idea of wealth redistribution is different from socialism's idea of universal basic income, in which everyone's paid whether they work or not. Jesus talked about two servants who worked and were rewarded with more, while what the lazy person had was taken from him and given to the hard worker. The biblical path to prosperity involves work and ingenuity, not handouts. I'm Pastor John Miller. Visit me at churchontherock.org.
Hello and welcome to the Zach Rateliff Show. I'm Zach.
I'm Adam, the preferred listener. Sorry,
the preferred listener. Yeah, the guy that makes it all happen.
Folks don't know the background on that. There was a time that you were trying to do things live.
Yeah,
and I was the guy who couldn't be here, so I was at home trying to listen live and be
through the streaming and setting that. Well, you've also been instrumental in a lot of this setup. So I mean, I appreciate that. Anyway, thank God for another day, Adam. Yep. Anyway, thank all of you for being here and chiming in. Thousands a day, tens of thousands a day. So that's pretty cool.
It's a big reach.
Yeah, and we're growing every day, and so we appreciate it. Okay, man, we got a lot to cover. But you just came back from the Republican Party of Texas
State Convention
last week. Due to work constraints and life, I was here holding it down. But some of what you're going to say, I directly spoke against last week when I ran the Bowie County Patriots meeting. So
I don't know about that, but we'll get into it.
But yeah, we'll get into it. And then after we record, I'm doing a pretty cool interview with golly, what's her name?
Jen Mack.
With Jen Mack.
Yeah, I said it.
And I'm excited about that, and I'm excited about where that leads, and the idea of having open ideas as a free society. Because as we know, you can often hear Republicans say that we got to let the people decide.
That has been a common theme in our county in the last several months.
And so that's what I'm going to do by letting the people decide to hear voices that may be a little bit different than ours, and then we'll compare ideas.
Well, is it really going to be a different voice than ours, or is there just a little difference in ideology?
I don't know. So we'll see where it goes. And then I've got a cool guest coming next week who I've grown up with, who also has a different flavor than ours, but we'll mirror our views on 70% of things, and 30% will be real different. So that's a fun thing that's coming. Anyway, let's get into what happened with the Republican Party. And so y'all went to Houston last week. I had made arrangements to be there. I have to work, I work for myself. So you cut hay when the sun's shining.
That's right.
And so here's the way I imagined it going. And then you tell me the way that it probably went. In my mind, it was going to be disorganized chaos that finally came together at the last minute, and nothing really got accomplished that we want, but people will say that they tried, and then they try to placate us with that.
It never really came together. We just finally said, hey, we've done something, and it's time to adjourn.
And so they tried to placate you with we tried.
Let's just hope that what works, when the permanent when the actual rules and platform and what's the other one, the legislative priorities, when all those documents are produced, let's just hope that they actually line up with what we said on the floor that we wanted.
Okay. Now that's no shot at Dorinda. I think she's,
if anything, it's a shot at our secretary, who I think is an outstanding secretary.
I don't know who that is.
You don't know? Nobody. Well, should you know who the secretary is? His name is Virgil. I don't even know his last name right now.
See?
But Virgil is, I gather that he's about my age.
Uh-huh.
He's got a little gray in his black hair, but this dude is so well spoken. He is so organized in what he does. He's quick on the keyboard. He's good at he is great at modifying a document on a screen so that the people in the audience can see what the discussion is about.
Oh, what?
But in order for him to do that well, the chairman also has to direct the conversation.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to make a motion, he needs to be able to restate your motion.
Well, that's just standard Robert's rules.
Kind of, yeah, I guess it would be. Instead of doing that, this chairman is more like, okay, you've heard the motion, pointing at the screen. The screen may not reflect it yet because he's over there tapping on keys trying to make it happen. So our secretary is great, and I really appreciate his work. But, in modifying, I think it was 284 platform items that we had on the list.
9,000 people or something showed up?
Oh, no. We might have had 5,500 delegates and alternates show up.
Okay. Because people like me were on the list that didn't come.
Right. Well, to give a report on Bowie County, we had 21 show up on Thursday morning for the opening ceremony of the opening session of the convention,
Out of
which is
42 signed up.
41 delegate slots and 41 alternate slots. So we had 82 people that could have. You can be a guest. You can pay your registration as a guest and sit in the back and not have anything to do with the floor activities.
That sounds horrible.
I think that gives you permission to attend all of the festivities and stuff around the convention.
Right.
But when it comes to the floor or into your SD caucus meeting, you don't have a vote. So, that's part of the rules. We have delegations that are established by rules and participation in other things. And
let me tell you what I think about that. Since this is the Zach Rateliff Show.
Tell me your opinion.
I one time, as a kid, I went to Bowie State.
Yeah. I've read about that. I've seen videos about that.
Which was a cool experience. But we got to watch the Texas House, and we got to go into the Texas House and the Texas Senate as they were working.
Interesting.
And because you're in Austin,
I would think that happens during summer in
they were working on something.
Special session probably.
Yeah. And anyway,
which doesn't happen every year, so that's a unique situation.
Yeah, but I got frustrated by not being able to vote at that. I'm like, these idiots. And I was, I guess that's going into your senior year. So I was 18 years old, 17 years old. And I was frustrated then. So to go watch something that I can't, it's like...
that is not how I would have voted.
Yeah.
Give me my representative. Now, I need to talk to him.
Now, you probably won't believe this, but in our, Bowie State, they break you up into two different groups, and then you have your cities and whatever. And of course, I'm going to be hard for you to believe. I was mayor, and then elected position of my 40 guys.
Look, nobody's perfect, so whoever made you mayor,
No, I mean, I just know it's hard to believe that for you that I would have ran for an office and won, and
imagine that,
and all the things. Also, funny side note, as we rabbit hole this, then we'll get back to it. Our group leader or whatever of the 44 guys that were in our little city out of 1,000 kids that go, his name was Jesus. And so my first mayoral dictate was, because we had to march and follow the flags everywhere. We were on the 5th floor, had to run the stairs every time. That's okay. Much better shape in high school, obviously. But my first dictate, and then was voted on and passed through our city, was whenever we followed Jesus around, because he had a flag, we had to follow him, we sang "I Have Decided to Follow Jesus." And that was our marching song as we went through the University of Texas campus. And so we would just sing, I have decided to follow Jesus. And that was our...
No turning back.
And that's exactly right. And after a week, he learned to appreciate it.
Wow.
Anyway, I digress. So anyway, you get to Houston.
Well, so starting out, this backs up to a few days before the actual convention starts. Our mutual friend JP and I went to Austin, went to Houston, wherever that place was. Either one of them is questionable. But for the convention, even with,
we can get JP in here.
I wanted to, but JP's out of town, so he and I was actually thinking about suggesting we do this before convention to say we're going down there to do X.
Yeah.
So JP and I went down there to sit through temporary committees, and not just sit through. You get you should, and we did get a chance to testify to the committee on what you want them to do, on your perspective. Maybe because when they're working, as you just said, the state legislature, they're working. You don't get a say on the floor,
right?
But these committees, as they're working, they're working with this set of ideas. And there may be something they're not thinking about that you walk in and say, you need to consider this. And they all go, you know what? You're right. This can't work.
Yeah.
Or we need to flip this. And they should take your testimony into consideration. So we went down there and I was specific on everything I testified. I went to the rules committee because I don't know.
Rules. Let's act like nobody knows what we're talking about. Because as you know, when I was roped into this by a certain person, into some of these things,
who would do that?
Yeah, well, they're sitting across from me. I didn't know all this. I just why don't we go make rules, hold the elected representatives accountable? And then turns out, just like in our federal government, there's a lot of red tape to make it real hard to hold these guys accountable. And so that's what you and I and JP and others that come in here, Dale Halls, that's what we're all fighting against. We're all fighting the machine on this.
That's right.
And so anyway, so the rules committee
is trying to fix problems that we have in our rules that maybe aren't clear enough.
Right.
So most folks will remember in Texas, there was a big deal back in October about censuring state representatives and maybe a couple of senators. The problem went back several months. The rules, as I mentioned earlier before we started recording, the first rule, it's Rule 44 in the RPT rules. We don't talk about Bruno.
Yeah.
The first rule is like 14 lines long, about 12 commas, in one sentence. And they said to me and to us in that committee, there's nothing wrong with that. That's the rules. What's wrong with it? How can you not read it? How does it not make sense? Well, we're graduating people out of high school that cannot read. So you tell me, what does that say? Well, the other side of this
is this talk, which on the episode that aired yesterday, it doesn't matter because people are listening to this whenever. With Pam Little from this State Board of Education, with what goes on with the bluebonnet curriculum.
Yep.
And the 1900 mistakes in there. Feed it into AI and let's at least get the grammar right.
Oh, AI. Oh no.
Yeah. Well, then we need data centers and da.
If we can do it now, do we need more data centers?
Yes.
I don't want to go there.
Okay.
Because you're right. So anyways, we went into rules and my biggest thing was I had done a complete rewrite using the same process and terminology of Rule 44. And it went from a page and a half with 14 line paragraphs and 18 commas and one sentence. It had gone from that to 3 pages with a very well outlined process.
Right.
My problem was after we pushed it through the county convention and I was done with it, because now it's on to the rules committee whenever they get established and get moving to take that and go with it. Well, it turns out a candidate for state rep, I don't know if he actually won or not. He might actually be becoming a state rep this year. He took my write-up and a few others' adjustments, and they combined together for another version of a rewrite. And this one included what I had said. I missed out on what if we want to censure a governor one day? What if we want to censure the lieutenant governor or a county commissioner or any Republican elected
official?
So they made those changes, and I thought it would look really good. Might have been some things that maybe change these percentages because, you've got to have your simple majority or maybe your 2/3 or 3/5 or whatever. We can debate those. So when that came up in the Rules Committee on Monday afternoon, they got started at 11 o'clock Monday morning. When they finally came to Rule 44 Monday afternoon, because they were going by priorities, kind of like we're going to start with this rule, and then we're going to go to that rule, and then this rule, and then we'll start and work our way through all the rest of them. When they opened up Rule 44, it was like, why would you want to rewrite this whole rule? And why did you include that? We're not, and this is what it came down to. We're not going to pass this whole rewrite because, A, it's too complicated. We don't have enough time to study it. Except there's been enough discussion in Signal groups and Facebook groups and all kinds of places.
Y'all guys use Signal?
Yes, they put the word out. We want to talk about this. There were people that worked on this, but the ones that didn't want to.
Those groups. You're the reason I have signal.
That's a good signal. Anyways, so these guys, they some of them decided they were not going to support this rewrite simply because it had this percentage there, which was open for amendment. You know, I don't like that kind of attitude. I want to discuss these things.
Well, here's the problem. I'm glad you said that as we're 14 minutes
into Monday.
And so
with the rest of the week to go,
this is the problem with the Republican Party. We're defeatist. We just accept defeat. We just accept we can't do it. We just accept that we're losing. We just accept things have to be the way they are because we don't want to buy the bigger pot, and we just prefer to keep cutting the end off the
A new idea? No, we don't let those happen.
Heaven forbid. A new idea, a new way to look at it. Talk to somebody that's running for governor that might not have an R on their name. Whatever it is, we're so dyed in the wool. This is what we do, hell bent on not changing, that we get passed by, and then we shoot each other. We cut at the knees out of each other, and then that's how you get the Democrat Party. They just say the same thing, and even though we're not against it, I mean, even though we're not for it, we're against it. They stick to their message.
Well,
they stick to their message. And that's how they continue to exist.
This is what I heard all week last week. That looks like a top-down approach. The Democrats are told from the top down, this is what we're doing.
Yeah,
you and I are going to be precinct chairs, and we should be the ones that tell our leadership up the party what we're going to do.
Because the voters tell us.
The other side of that is there is a convention process in there where we establish rules, where we establish platforms. So all that is what we started on Monday, and that they shot down what I was there to do day one. Now it's up to me to try to work and get them through multiple times to testify, to get them to bring it back up and consider this. So in the end, for my Rule 44 adjustments, there were some adjustments to the language that will clarify some things.
So you had some progress.
Some wins.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say it was a great win, but I don't think we lost anything with Rule 44.
Okay.
It means that whatever.
There's a chance it was going away.
Well, if enough people had showed up and testified against it, if enough, which I didn't hear anybody testify against Rule 44.
Yeah, I'm sure.
I heard people testifying for accountability. I heard people
443.
But what I heard from committees, if we'd have had committee appointments, people appointed to the committee that were against it, they could have voted. They could have voted to amend, strike Rule 44, period. And we'd have had to debate it for, it was said to be 10 minutes, but it could have been 40, you know?
This is like listening to public radio a little bit for people that just aren't into it, because, God, but this is the stuff that I often tell you we can't talk about it because it's inside baseball, but this is what we need to talk about right now.
Yeah.
So people understand what actually happens.
You know, if you're worried about the Republican primaries and the Republican candidates and worried about the conservatives involved, you've got to understand it's not just who you elect in November and send to the actual position.
Well, and it's
the politics behind getting them there.
And let me use an example so people understand why this is important. A national example that anybody that kind of follows the news and kind of follow politics, but you listen to this show, but like, how does this matter to me? The Spencer Pratt Los Angeles election. So what happened in California was because there haven't been rules built around primaries in issues like this that allows this election to get stolen from this guy. Now, I understand it's a little bit different, but that's what we're fighting against. From a ground level up, from a guy from here, which is you, and 24 other people, or however many showed up, and
20 other people,
5,000 people out of 30 something million in our state.
Yeah, it's like 30 or 33.
Yeah, so 5,000 people got together and like, hey, this is what we're gonna do. This is what we're gonna hold our party accountable to. So that's what we're talking about. That's why it matters, because you can see it play out in these other states when it goes around. You can see it play out a couple of elections ago here when, Democrats can jump over and vote for somebody because they're massaged into a certain feeling through radio ads and all that by the bigger checkbook. So that's all part of it.
Yeah. So that kind of segues into the other thing that I went to talk about. I went to the LP committees, the Legislative Priorities Committee, which is where JP spent 99% of his time. I mean, from the minute they opened up with prayer in the morning to the time they dismissed for the night at 11:10 or something. He was there from 8:30 in the morning to 11 o'clock at night, Tuesday and Wednesday and whatever time was necessary Monday, He was there. He fought for property taxes, argued for property taxes. I went in there with the strategy of, hey, let's make it a legislative priority to close the primary,
Right.
because obviously our governor and our Secretary of State wanted to fight us on that. So we've got this lawsuit going on. Well, then our governor comes out while we're down there in favor of closing the primaries.
I was not surprised by this.
No, that's leading off into another subject. But anyway, I went in there and I said we should do this as a strategy, because then this comes back to the Rule 44 activity last year, censuring activity. If our state reps don't do what we as a party want to do, the party needs to hold them accountable. So what happens is, if our reps in the legislature and in the Senate and in the Capitol, in the governor's mansion, I guess, do not support us for closed primaries, because this was one little line in the legislative priorities we passed. If they don't support us, now that's one strike towards censure.
Right.
So my strategy passed in the Legislative Priorities Committee. I also mentioned a few other things. But yeah, we went down there to testify in the committees, and I think it went great. We did not lose ground in the committees through Wednesday night.
Okay. Let's take a break right there.
Okay.
The Zach Rateliff Show is brought to you by Mortgage Financial in Texarkana, Exceed Health Clinic on Mull Drive in Texarkana, Elmwood Custom Goods, and Church on the Rock, Texarkana. That's churchontherock.org.
Candidate for Texas Senate James Tallarico claims the Bible is silent on abortion, but he's wrong. He just doesn't like what the Bible says because taking the life of a child is against his political stance. Murder is forbidden in the Ten Commandments and by Jesus. I hope we elect leaders who acknowledge our Creator and protect unborn children rather than throw them in the trash. I'm Pastor John Miller. Visit me at churchontherock.org.
No, man. All right, we're back. Yeah. No, I wouldn't have put all that on here. That's why I didn't record yet. All right, we're back from the break. Sorry, I had some text messages to use. Prayers for my grandma. Y'all get a chance. That'd be good. Anyway, we're doing some stuff there, but hey, that's life, and keep rocking, baby. She's doing all right. So, all right. So that's why y'all were there. You got the thing. So
we went for Wednesday for everything through Wednesday to testify to committees, and then the show starts on Thursday morning, 9:00, first general session.
when the elephant came through.
Oh well, I don't even remember when the elephant came through. It just so happened I'm 3 seats away from the aisle where the elephant came through.
Were you?
Yeah, it wasn't fun, but
That's a giant
I didn't
animal.
get kicked or spit on or peed on.
I mean, I feel like
I said that, didn't I?
That's a big animal.
It's a huge animal. It was like,
I mean, I've seen an elephant at the zoo, but I've never been 3 seats from an elephant.
I'm gonna give you this for scale. The elephant that you've seen in all the pictures, the red, white, and blue, his name is Victor. That's what I've been told. He's a
I hear
fiberglass.
they're huge, intelligent.
Well,
You're talking about the fake.
I'm talking about the fake one that the
Yeah.
RPT uses for the picture backgrounds and
Yeah.
stuff. That thing is almost as big as a real elephant.
Oh, really?
That thing is standing tall. And this joker walked by us down that aisle. Like, that's
Not
a
the
big
fake.
elephant.
Yeah.
But anyway, my wife, when I told her about it, she said, that is stupid. Whoever did that needs to be shot or something. She said something along that line. But anyways, let's be honest. Do you really want to take an animal that could very easily be triggered? So,
I mean,
yes, they are intelligent, as you pointed out.
Could
But
have ran wildfire through that place, which
Steve
would have been
raised
an
the
awesome video. But
Steve raised the question, what if? And I said, well, if the elephant gets loose, you get your mouse out. You get your computer bag out, and you get your mouse out.
yeah.
Anyways.
And that's why we're all nerds.
No, I was sitting there close, but I think, the elephant was like Friday afternoon.
I'm surprised PETA didn't have a heyday with Republicans.
I'm sure they have, and we haven't seen it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Anyway, side note, if you hadn't, there's an idea.
At 9:00 Thursday morning, the convention came to order, and there were 21 Bowie County delegates and alternates. So since we had 41 slots for delegates, we all were delegates.
Perfect.
Not perfect, but I'll take it. It's better than 5.
Right.
Let's just be honest up front. A lot of folks couldn't afford to go. It's an expensive trip to go down there and be close enough to the convention center to be there all week long. Food is expensive. So it's something that if you want to go and experience this, you need to start it on your budget right now for 2 years from now.
Right.
So we started, and here's what upsets me most about convention. The state convention is not paid for in registration fees. The state convention is paid for by sponsors. And who are the sponsors that pay for it? We're talking Greg Abbott to the tune of about $3 million, I think. We're talking Speaker of the House Burroughs. I don't know how much money he gave, but they all sponsor it. And for some amount of money, they get some amount of speaking time on the big stage. So we opened up with speakers for like an hour and a half.
If any of you want to sponsor it and then let me be the speaker, we can do it that way. I'll go up there and just put it on.
I've got a better solution. Why don't we just find 1 million voters across a million Republican voters across Texas that have all the respect in the world for the party and its efforts that would be willing to donate one time $25.
Listen,
1 million voters.
We're getting a reach. We don't have that kind of reach yet. I mean,
I've been saying it to everybody I talk to.
Yeah,
but that's my point, though. If this convention, which costs probably about $5 million total, those numbers probably will never be released.
Everybody listening to this show wants to give $10, I'll take it
to your show.
Yeah, well, you'll see some changes.
I second that, and I'll come back to my second in a second.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we spent like an hour and a half in the first session talking about or listening to speeches because they paid to have that right. Then we had to get to business. We have to establish a permanent convention chair, permanent convention officers. And then we adjourn for that session and go to our SD caucus. This is where the fun starts. Our SD caucus chairman is a friend of mine named Randy. I won't give his last name because you could look it up. Randy was excited to do the job. I was excited to see Randy do the job. Randy was told in their meeting on Wednesday night when they got their instructions, you have to follow this script. If you go to your county convention or your precinct convention, you're given a script. You don't have to follow that script. You have to follow the agenda it sets.
Right.
Randy was told, you read this script.
Yeah.
I want to know who led that meeting because I got a feeling it has to do with the former chairman.
Oh, I'm sure.
So Randy says
who's been on the show,
who's been on the show, and listen, the guy says everything right, and I was excited. I voted for him 3 times the first time through the process to get him into that spot.
Yeah,
he just didn't prove to be the leader that I wanted him to be. So, we get to convention to SD caucus time Thursday.
We'll get Dorinda in here too when next time she's in town, or not. We'll call her and we'll do it that way.
I did ask her if she wanted to come be a speaker at our organizational meeting, which I need to talk to the chairman about, which he needs to talk to us about. And she said she would love to. So that might happen. She might be back in town in the next 43 days.
Yeah, we'll get her in here.
If everything works the way it's supposed to. Anyhow, SD caucus starts and Randy goes through the rules and we start. And it's just, there were a lot of folks that would not close their mouths Senate and let district. The man.
Is SD, by the way.
SD Senate District, 19 counties in one room. Should have been a lot more people there, but again, we've talked about that. A lot of folks were busy throwing points of order and points of information out, trying to figure out where we're supposed to be, and they wouldn't let him read the script. If they'd let him read the script, we would be moving along. The other thing is, when it came time to start our voting process, because we have to
ignore those. The parliamentarian can shut that down and say it's coming.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah, you had to be there.
Yeah, I get it. I'm glad I wasn't. The more I hear this, the more
I guess. Yeah. Well, you would have just found yourself sitting back laughing like most of us did.
Yeah.
Exactly. We had county chairs
sitting here making money selling real estate.
There you go. And
call me if you need.
A lot of self-employed people can set money back and set time back to do this.
Yeah.
In your business, that's difficult to do. You got to be ready to go when it goes.
It's just spring and summer's when
the high points.
We're cutting hay.
Yeah. So everybody seemed to think that no matter what was said on a microphone toward the speaker, it had to have a second. So we had people standing up there asking for recognition to say, I second that. And it wasted so much time, and it became a point of not only contention, but a point of humor.
Sounds like, once again, as I predicted, a poorly organized event.
What really set it off was whoever organized this event decided, instead of with every vote, the county chairs that organize their counties for the caucus, with every vote, the county chairs should go up there and get the allotted number of ballots to match the number of delegates you have in the room. Take those ballots, pass them out, take them up, right? Somebody had this bright idea of handing out a ballot book Just take a sheet of paper with certain, first ballot, second ballot, third ballot, print it out on it, slice it into slivers, staple it together.
Yeah.
Really smart, I thought, because not really.
I'll let you know.
When you have your ballot in hand and you've been informed for weeks or months ahead of who your candidates are, you're probably already about writing your candidate.
You're not hearing all this stuff.
So you've got people who have already voted, and we haven't even begun to hear the candidates speak. Now you've got county chairs taking up ballots, and we're not on process.
You remember and I know you do, because you and I talked for a while before it all went down, the New Boston straw poll.
I've slept since then, but yeah, I was there.
We were at the high school, remember? And you and I were sitting there talking before, and which I thought this was crazy. I went in there to get comfortable with the room, which anybody that's ever spoken in public knows that you go get comfortable with the room.
Right.
Maybe not everybody, but maybe I'm not as good at it as some people. However, I'm a decent public speaker. And I know it's a gifting from God.
Right.
And I mean, I'm not just trying to toot my own horn, but I go get comfortable with the room.
Right.
I sit in the room. I walk on the stage. I stand where I'm going to stand. I sit where I'm going to sit. I walk up and down the stairs. I make loud, weird noises so I hear how my voice carries without the microphone, so I know what to expect with the microphone. So you get comfortable with the room. And in that time, we decided at that thing, to bring this around to the point, there are going to be people that vote that never hear what I say because of my order that I'm going. And so that's also what happened. That's a thing that happens if it's not
moderated correctly or well enough, then things, what's the word? Disillusioned? Not disillusioned.
Not disillusioned.
Anyway, that's one of my failures as a public speaker. I don't know words.
Make up words.
I make them up. I'm vocabularic in that way.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
But yeah, so Randy did
strategery.
I will say this: given what Randy had to work with, he did an outstanding job.
Right.
I gave JP on the way home. We rode together. I gave JP my agenda for when I get asked to be the SD1 caucus chair.
The Bowie County Party Whip.
Whatever. I heard somebody else use that word the other day.
About you?
No. But anyways, I gave him a strategy for how I will keep them from standing up to ask for points of information, points of order, because we got to get to this. Yes, we do. And if you'll sit down, we can get right to it. That wasn't in the script. So Randy wasn't really wanting to say that, he was feeling it all day long.
Well, here's what we need to do. We'll continue on and I'll get there.
Well, so Thursday's points of business for the SD1 caucus were to appoint your permanent committee members for the convention. And for the most part, that went okay. One of the issues that we had was leading into convention week. We had somebody that had said, we're going to do SREC elections on Thursday morning, which is the first SD1 caucus. And that's State Republican Executive Committee man who is now Sebron Jim Obeer from Red River County.
Friend of the show. He's never been on the show, but he's welcome.
You need to fix that.
Yeah, I do need to fix that. Friend of the show, friend of ours.
And Susan Conway, who is also from Red River County.
Right. I've only met her once, but probably a friend of the show.
You need to have them both on here probably at the same time. We talked about having the previous members on here, but that never happened. It just one of them lives 2.5 hours from us, basically, so it was hard for her to get up here. But anyways, so we elected them Friday morning, even though going into it there was a big mix-up about when we were going to do it. I guess you could say the delegates on the floor of the convention decided we were going to do that on Friday morning.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Friday morning you've also got to do state chair and state vice chair elections. And if you've got 5 candidates in each of those races, and some of them running for both of them, you're running into a lot of business to do in like 2 hours in a caucus meeting.
I don't want you to think I was ignoring you.
No.
Because I wasn't.
No.
But I was typing. But I shout out to Elmwood Custom Goods because I was.
Is that who you were texting? I don't know his name, but thanks.
That's who I'm texting. So
that's where that sign came from.
Thanks for the sponsorship, buddy. I appreciate you.
I know that he's working on some stuff for you right now, and I'm looking forward to seeing that.
And you like to see what he's got. But what you said made me think of something that he sent me, and then you'll hear it in an episode to come. So I was following you.
Randy needed a gavel.
Yeah.
We could use a couple of gavels, really, big Texas legislature sized gavels or something.
If he can make them, that'd be cool. But
the thing
he's
is,
working on something a lot cooler for us. Than
if
that.
you go back and watch the House videos, the state House videos, in the archives, you'll see sometimes when somebody's calling for order, whatever, they'll sling the end off of the gavel.
Yeah.
This thing is
Just wearing it
this
out.
big around and that long.
Yeah.
Probably weighs a good 20 pounds or something.
He's given hand motions for those of you watching.
Yeah. Well, for those of you listening, I'm looking at the camera over there talking to it, but they'll sling the head off of that gavel 30 feet over there and hit somebody behind a desk. It's hilarious. But anyways, coming back to focus.
Yeah.
Man, we wound up, the delegation on the floor voted to do that SREC election on Friday morning.
Uh-huh.
And I'm kind of glad because Thursday morning, well, no, we went a little while long Thursday morning, but it was trying to figure out what this script that this guy was reading. We just couldn't get into it. People were interrupting. Right. We couldn't get people to come in the room and stay in the room. They had to go to the restroom, things like that. Couldn't establish numbers in the rooms. It was just chaos.
Well, so then I'll throw that to this friend of the show, friend of mine, I believe friend of yours, that frequent Bowie County Patriot attendee, especially in the last year, 6, 7, 8 months, George.
Yeah.
To his point, he's like, man, Zach, I just think we could do this through computers and technology and be more. But this is what it's not the gathering. I understand needing to gather to feel to exchange ideas and all that. But it's to get around stuff like this. It's to get around the chaos and the disorganization that comes with, and that's where I agree with him on is, and because of course, side note, I even feel that way about Congress and both state Congresses and U.S. Congresses is do it from your computer. That way you can they have a fear of getting punched in the face if they do something wrong in their home district.
I work for the federal government, and recently they finally found me an office to get back to.
Yeah.
But that office does not come with internet access. So I have a government cell phone. This is not it, by the way. But that's my access point to the internet.
Isn't that
crazy? So if cell signal cuts out for a few minutes, I lose connectivity. So here's the thing. We want to do all this stuff by technology. Are we sure our technological connections guarantee our right to participate?
So it's funny, my father-in-law, 22-year FBI man.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was kind of his always thing is like, we all had, I remember when he was still using a BlackBerry well after that, needed to, and then their technology, he was always like, all the TV shows make it look like the FBI is flying around on their private jets. But
you mean they're not?
they are not.
Wow.
So anyway, sorry, just to get back to but that is George's point on some of this stuff is that seemingly would make it easier to do if you had the technology right. So I just wanted to throw that. That's a fair point. Listening to everything you've just said.
I mean, even on the floor of the convention, if you want to amend that language up there on the screen, you've got to be first in line, and there's 4 microphones for you to try to be at. So you've got to be the one standing at the one mic the chairman is going to call on, and you don't know that he's going to.
So compare that to, and I know we're not going to get as far as you wanted to get today just based on this, but you knew how this was.
Yeah.
Compare that to not too long ago, I was on the Patriot Pulse podcast. Y'all should go look it up.
I remember that.
And so, but it was from my studio here, and they're in Pennsylvania in 2 different studios. And then we could throw to each other. I could hit a button if I want. Maybe those guys are good at what they do up there. But you could do that. Major companies around the world.
But you're talking about 5,000 or 9,000 people trying to be connected through one system and everybody having the equal chance.
I know, but there's some complexities there that you could go into a conference call and hit the button and it shows your hand right and the moderator run it. So maybe not for the whole floor, but for the committees, for the
There was a lot of talk outside of any of the sessions I was in about people wanting to do, we already have SD conventions because there are some Senate districts that are smaller than a county.
Right.
And so those Senate districts will meet and do what we did at county convention. These people are also proposing remote or, separate SD caucuses before convention starts. We probably need to talk about that because what we did in our SD caucus could probably be done somewhere meeting around Mount Pleasant, and all of our 19 counties come and meet and have our business done before that convention starts.
That's exactly right. Here's what we want to accomplish. Let's get in there and do something.
We have SREC, State Republican Executive Committee, man and woman that are elected in that meeting. They represent you and I and every other Republican voter in this district, okay? Mm-hmm. Every one of those voters that voted in the Republican primary should be able to have a say there. On the other hand, that's part of our delegation process, state convention process.
Every time you say that, I hear the song, but on the other hand.
I try to take an objective look, which uses the other hand often.
Yeah.
So either way, we had 21 of a possible 41 delegate spots filled in Houston. Mm-hmm. But if we were doing it in Mount Pleasant, that 21 might have been 41. We might have had more alternates had to sit in the back of the room because they were able to be at that meeting for that business.
It would increase buy-in.
So, man, buy-in, that's a great word.
And that's the problem, right? That's why you get a school board meeting that happens or school board vote that happens in Texarkana that had less
3% vote in it.
Yeah. It had, the numbers that we got in my precinct election rivaled a local school board number vote. I mean, that's crazy.
Yeah. If I remember right, the number of voters y'all had in your election was what I had in mine 2 years ago running for precinct chair. Right. Which may be part of why my opponent chose not to run again. She also had some other things going on. So I don't want to say anything about
that. Yeah.
She certainly ran a good race there 2 years ago and 4 years ago too. I tried twice. But anyways, the other big issue.
Yeah.
You started off talking about the disorganization, and there was a lot of question about what's going on. Mm-hmm. What I wanted to say starting out was if we had more people donating to the RPT, please do not construe this as me asking for money.
Yeah.
But if more people,
because I'm about to shoot holes all in it.
If you and I or anybody were donating money to the RPT as hardcore Republicans, then maybe that convention was paid for by you and I instead of Greg Abbott.
That's
and
right.
He doesn't need that time on the speech. Here's what happened on the floor. We'd listen to speeches for an hour and a half. Then we'd do 30 minutes of business. Then we'd listen to speeches for an hour and a half, and then we'd do a little business. And that business is limited because of how much time we have now in the building, okay? Mm-hmm. So we've got rules.
Where was it? It was at
the George R. Brown Convention Center. The
huge convention.
It's like the biggest one in Texas, I think. Maybe San Antonio rivals it, I think. Those are the two biggest ones. And there's also a lot of discussion about limiting the number of delegates to the RPT convention so that we can do it in other smaller places. The whole time I'm walking around there thinking about the Waco Convention Center, which is about as big as this building we're in. Right. So anyway, but yeah, we're limited on the business we can do on the floor because of the speeches that have to be given, that time that's paid for. We were given 60 minutes to debate rules. Mm-hmm. We used that up and made like 3 amendments of what probably was more like a typo, right. That the chairman I spoke so highly of a while ago, he's already going to catch that and fix it.
Right.
And he's probably got a delegate, a committee that does that for him.
Right.
But we got to the platform. We got 284 items, and somebody proposed some more on the floor. So now we got like 287 platform items, and they all need to be amended.
Mm-hmm.
We don't have time for it because we're listening to speeches. Yes. So, but that's also the importance of going to those committees before the convention starts so that you get your say and they set it to your language before you have to do it on the floor, because you're one of 4 mics that the chairman may never get to before your thing is killed.
Right.
So, man, the convention process is exciting if you want to play a big part in your party.
Let me before we leave it.
Yeah.
The donating money part. Now, as you said, I and you are elected now members of the Republican Party. Have been elected. So I'm not, but I'm not
We're waiting to be sworn in one of these days.
That's right. But and that'll happen in due time as it's supposed to. Hopefully.
Always that last word.
Well, I know it will. It's
Yeah.
just, I understand everybody's busy, and I'm not trying to be disparaging.
You just have to know our chairman and how he runs the party.
Yeah, and that's right, and that's his prerogative because he won, and that's
The
what
county chairman, not the state
yeah,
chairman.
and he run, and like I said, that's his prerogative, and so we can do that.
Money.
Money, yeah, that's why I had to write it down. Here's why people don't donate. Thank you, though. That's why people.
You're getting to the meat of my arguments lately.
Let me
talk about it.
Let me give you a little Rateliffology, little Zachism for you. Are you seeing? And I hate to tell you this, politics. While the most important politics we engage in is local, the most visible politics people see is national.
Yes.
So the reason people won't give to the Republican Party of Texas or to the Bowie County Republican Party, or even outside of the party to the Bowie County Republican Political Action Committee. Shout out Tom.
Yeah.
Is because when they look and they see a John Thune refusing to pass an easily passed Save the Election Act, or whatever it's called.
I think it's technically it's the Save America Act, and everybody calls it the Save Act. There's several Save Acts.
Yeah, Save America, which is the voter ID,
right.
No illegals have to be.
Right.
They see the inaction there, but then they'll see a vote to give themselves a raise. And then they won't see any action on the Epstein files.
Yep.
But then they'll see them bring in, we're going to bring in this
kill switches.
Yeah, kill switches. Or we're going to pat this person on the butt and put out a resolution of a good
There
job.
you go.
But they don't. It makes people think, what in the hell would I give money to that for?
That's right.
And so then when you see, then we can go down to the state level. Okay. Well, then when you see at the state level, no matter what you believe, well, I hear they're stealing our water, but they're not doing anything about that.
That's right.
Well, I'm paying, I have a third of an acre is what I live on, and I pay over $4,000 a year in property tax. Okay.
Wow.
Or right at 4,000. Maybe that's wrong. Am I thinking of that? I see a lot of these numbers. I'm right in that area.
Yeah. Well, I believe you anyway.
Yeah. No, maybe it's 39, but that's how much in property taxes I'm paying. Well, you're stealing from me. Now, I know people that I'm very close with that are paying. Now, these are hardworking people that are thinking about retiring. They're paying $30,000+ a year in property taxes, and they don't own 1,000 acres.
Right.
They don't own 100 acres. They own
1 or 2,
20 acres.
Really?
Maybe not. It's not even 20.
Right.
Actually, it's 14-ish acres, and they're paying. They're well, it's less than 20. They're paying $30,000 a year in property taxes. So you're not seeing your property taxes come, but you want me to give more money to these bastards that won't do what I want them to do.
That's right. So I've been on this kick for I don't know how many months now that it's time to start holding these people accountable.
Boom. Which brings us back.
And everybody thinks that we do that through elections. Elections only happen every so often.
That's right.
They need
But
to be accountable for one.
Like the rules committee you were just talking about.
The censure rule? What if we had a recall law that we can petition for recall? What if we had a way to make them do what they got elected to do?
And that's why this that you were just at is important.
That's why I went down there to argue for Rule 44s. Not because I want to censure people. There's no fun in saying, "Hey, proud you got elected on our ticket, but now we're going to kick you out of it." By the way, there's 3 levels to Rule 44, and it takes the 3rd level, which under my language took 5 strikes, and I wanted to make it 7, but I knew there's plenty of people that were going to argue against that. They bumped it back down to 3 for the language they pushed through that got blocked in committee anyways. I want it to be difficult to censure.
Yeah.
But and I don't want to call any names, but we saw plenty instances in the last legislative session where there were a lot of legislators had plenty strikes.
And they just
it takes 3 by the rules to get censured. I want them to be held accountable. If you run as a Republican, you represent the Republican Party.
That's right.
And its principles and its platform. Look, we don't all agree on the platform items. That's why we vote on them using a Scantron. That's another mess at the convention. But the legislative priorities.
You can just take something, do. Anyway, go ahead. There's a way to cheat on Scantrons.
Well, would you call it cheating? If
yeah, no. Glad I didn't.
This is more of
I didn't see that trick in high school. But
yeah. Well, anyway, there's no right or wrong on it. It's the matter of what does everybody think this should be? Should this be in the platform or not? How strongly should this be in the platform? If 92% of the delegates said yes, then that's how strongly we wanted it.
Right.
So I want our Republican elected people who come through our primary process or even get appointed through some process that we do have rules for. I want them to be held accountable. And I think, in my opinion, when the party begins to hold, because right now you mentioned it, up in D.C., we've got a lot of folks getting away with a lot of nothing, really. When we start to hold them accountable, I think voters all over the country will stand up and say, hey, finally the Republicans are this is another issue. People think the Republicans are those that get elected to public office. That's wrong. The grassroots is the party. We're the ones from the bottom up saying this is what we want. Yeah. And if you get elected to public office and you do not represent what the grassroots level wants, you got to go, or you got to get in line with us. We don't get in line from the top down. We get in line from the bottom up. Okay. So I think when we begin to hold them accountable, we'll regain respect from a lot of voters.
I think that's
and they'll be willing to give that money I'm talking about.
There you go. All right.
We can fix this party.
Let's wrap it up and get out of here.
All right.
Man, I appreciate you doing it. I appreciate the effort that you put into it. And that's why I'm always like, we can't talk about inside baseball, but today is inside baseball. Today, we need, and I think that you just brought it back full circle. That's exactly why we need people like you, people to make us involved, to come on this show with. Thank you to our listeners that want to hear it, that care enough to be like, okay, what's going on? This might not be fun to listen to. It doesn't pull any heartstrings. Right. It doesn't,
I'm not making you cry. Unless you want some accountability.
That's right. You could. Yeah.
I do.
It's shows like this that are important and are needed.
Yeah.
Just to know what people on the ground like you are doing for our state and for our country, for our county.
And if there's anybody out there that wants more information, I love to talk about this stuff to inform and educate people. We had a local delegate there. He'd never been to any other kind of Republican meeting other than the county convention.
Oh.
And he got there because he voted in the primary.
Well,
I'm hoping to train him up and bring him in and hopefully make him a precinct chair too. Awesome. So I love teaching on this stuff and helping people become involved in their government. So if you don't want that, if you want help, more information, Adam Huggins, look me up. I'm all over Facebook way too much.
All right, everybody. Thank you for listening. Adam, thank you for being here. I hope God blesses each and every one of you today.